The stock market is crashing and recession is coming. What do you need to do to prepare? When the stock market does crash and a recession does come, it's a surprise to 99% of the people out there. Okay, the vast majority of people do not know when a stock market crash is coming or a recession is coming because it's impossible, it's very hard to tell. So unless you have insider information like when the housing crisis came, if you were in the housing industry, then maybe you were one of the 1% that's seen it coming. But most of the time, a stock market crash or a recession is a huge surprise to everybody. So you need to be prepared ahead of time. So in this video, I'm going to give you 6 different tips that I have learned along the years of being a business owner and an entrepreneur with basically nobody to help me out. So I had to be financially strong throughout these downturns. I lived through 9/11, which was in 2001. I lived through the 2008 mortgage crash and the huge crash that happened with the stock market and everything there too. And a lot of other little blips along the way, like December of 2018, the stock market crashed quickly and came back. And I've just kind of lived through this stuff. So I have 6 different tips that I'm going to give you that is going to help you prepare for this economic crash and the next one. So number 1, you need an emergency fund. An emergency fund of 3 to 6 months, most financial experts agree, is what you need. An emergency fund is basically your living expenses in cash, in your checking, in your savings account for at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses so that you can survive an economic downturn. See, if you lose your job or, the markets crash or you run into financial difficulty, you need to have an emergency fund. Even if the air conditioner on your house goes or you get in a car accident or you have a car repair bill, that can easily be several $1,000s. And the problem is that 50% of Americans don't even have $500 saved. So when they run into common problems that happen every year or 2 or 3 where your car needs a repair bill or something needs fixed on your house or you need money for something, they don't have any money. So be like the smarter half and have more than $500 saved. You really need to have 3 to 6 months in what you spend every month in an emergency fund. So if you spend about $5,000 a month for all your bills, you need to have at least $15,000 saved so that if you have an emergency and you have a $3,000 or $5,000 bill, you can weather the storm a little bit better. Number 2 is pay down your debt, especially your high interest debt. The average credit card APR is 20%. So what that means is you're paying about 20% interest every single year. So if you go and buy a $1,000 iPhone, you're actually paying $1,200 for it in the first year, and you're going to continue to pay another $200 on it every single year until you pay off that full balance. So for example, if you have $10,000 in credit card debt, which a lot of Americans do, sadly, you're going to be paying $2,000 per year every single year in interest. It's the equivalent of driving down the street and taking a wad of money and throwing it out the window. That's essentially what interest is, because you're better off buying, if you're going to buy an iPhone, buy it for that $1,000 and pay it off when your bill comes due, as opposed to paying $1,400 or $1,600 or $1,800. That's one of the main reasons why the rich get rich and the poor get poor, because the poor pay credit card debt for years and years and years on thousands of dollars and stuff, and the rich will just pay it off in full and not pay any interest at all. Number 3, cash is king. In a recession or a stock market drop, cash is king, because when you have cash, first of all, you can weather the storm a lot better. And second of all, you can buy things when they're low. For example, in 2008, the housing market crashed and you were able to buy properties for 50% of what they were worth just a few months ago. So if you could go and buy a $200,000 house that's worth $400,000 and sell it a year or 2 later, you can make a really good money. Also, your credit rating is also very important, because a lot of times you can buy stuff like a house with your credit, put a down payment on it, and then pay for it over later. But if it's an investment, it'll be making you money along the way. The problem is in a recession or a stock market downturn, people lose their jobs, people are short on money, and if you run out of money, then you have to start selling stuff as opposed to buying stuff. So when you can buy stuff at a deal that's worth more money, that's how you can make more money. In fact, my next YouTube video is going to be how to make money in a stock market crash or an economic downturn. So make sure you subscribe and watch that next video. Number 4, refinance your mortgage and or other debt. For example, if you haven't refinanced it in the last couple years, you can probably save hundreds or thousands of dollars per year just by refinancing. Mortgage rates are at an all-time low or very close to it. You can get mortgages in the 2 and 3% depending on what type of mortgage you get, but oftentimes that can save you hundreds of dollars per month, which is basically just free money. All you have to do is refinance and save your money. The same thing if you do have any credit card debt or even like a high interest auto loan, you can refinance, get a lower rate, and you're basically just saving. It's like free money. In fact, I have my mortgage with a bank called Third Federal, and they actually have this really cool feature. It's a rate relock where I can pay $295 at any given time and relock into the absolute lowest rate that's available at that current time. And then it stays locked in. I'm on a 5-1 ARM because it's just the best plan for me because I keep my rate really low. And every like couple years, I'll pay that $295, and it actually ends up saving me thousands of dollars because it's like refinancing without having to pay closing costs and go through all this paperwork. It's a one-piece paper. You pay the $295, and instantly your bill goes down the very next month. And oftentimes, I end up saving thousands of dollars by paying that $295. It's like free money. Number 5, invest your money safely. And by safely, this really comes down to risk tolerance. See, a lot of people that get into the stock market via their 401k or their IRA or however they get into it, a lot of people don't really realize their risk. So if you did have, say, $100,000 in your 401k and the market temporarily drops, say, 40%, how would you feel? And this is the problem that a lot of people have. The stock market will temporarily drop and then it'll come back a year or two later. But the problem is people get scared because they see they're losing tens of thousands of dollars and they sell near the low. So their portfolio drops from $100,000 down to, say, $60,000, and then they sell near the low and they've locked in those losses, and then they're scared to reinvest that money ever again, okay? So the secondary problem is that then their money doesn't grow and doesn't make them any money, okay? So in finance, there's a rule called the rule of 72. And what it means is because of compound interest, if you earn, say, 7.2% per year in interest or gains on your investment, it'll take you about 10 years, 7.2 times 10, to double your money. So if you're earning about 7% a year, you can double your money in 10 years, okay? That's actually really good because if you had $100,000, in 10 years it'll double to $200,000, and then in another 10 years it'll double to $400,000. And that's without putting any new money in. The problem is if you're not investing, you won't make any money along the way, and your $100,000 will actually be worth less because of inflation. So 1, you need to be investing, and number 2, you need to learn what your risk tolerance is, okay? If you're scared to be, on paper, losing money when the stock market does drop, you need to have a balanced portfolio. You need to maybe have 50% stocks and 50% bonds. I recommend a stock index and a bond index because it's not one specific stock. It's an index of thousands of stocks. So if one specific stock does bad, it doesn't matter because there's a whole bunch of other stocks doing good. And it helps balance out your portfolio. And number 6 is make more money. It's time to be prudent when a recession or a stock market crash is coming or already here. You need to bunker down and not spend as much and make more money. So for some of you, that might mean, working more or taking out a secondary job. My personal favorite is to start a side business. So if you're not a full-time business owner already, start a side business that you can grow to possibly a full-time income down the road, okay? But you have to start with a side business that you do on the side and maybe get it up and have it start making you a couple $1,000s a month or something like that. Now, it's going to take you time and effort. Businesses don't grow themselves. But when you grow a side business, you now have a secondary income. Okay. So if you lose your job or the economic crash makes you lose your job, you now at least have a secondary income, and then you can work on it full time and potentially make it a full time income. So let me know down below in the comments, how long do you think this economic downturn is going to last? Not just, what's going on right now, but also the economic fallout that could potentially affect people longer down the road. Now, of course, my favorite secondary business is an Amazon FBA business where you're selling products on Amazon. And I'll link to a YouTube playlist over here where you can start learning about creating your Amazon FBA business for free just by watching these YouTube videos of mine. If you have any questions, let me know down below, and I will see you in the next video.